Before we start the video, an important message from Roger Goodell, Commissioner of the National Football League.
Hello everyone. I have an important announcement to make regarding the 2022 NFL Draft. For far too long, our league has experienced way too much parity between the teams, leaving fans far too satisfied. So due to unpopular demand, we will be conducting the draft a little bit differently to try to give the more important teams that can make me more money a leg up on the rest of the league. We will be splitting the first round into two separate drafts. First, a normal one, where teams draft normally with no changes, except no players from the SEC will be eligible. Instead, we will have a separate draft, in auction format, for that conference. There will be no salary cap limits enforced, and teams can just pay for as many players as they want. So big market teams like the Cowboys and Giants, break out your pocketbooks because nobody in their right mind wants to see superstars on the Cleveland Browns. To the fans that don't like this change, you don't make the NFL as much money as fans in big cities, so please direct your complaints to the blank wall in the back.
So this sounds ridiculous, and something that fans would be outraged over, but this is not far off to what was happening in baseball for over 20 years. I present to you International Amateur Free Agents. So it sounds obvious by the name, but to fully understand how this works, we have to know what an international amateur free agent is and how it impacts the league. There are four main ways a player is initially signed to a Major League Baseball organization. There's the draft, amateur free agents, international amateur free agents, and foreign free agents, purchased/posted players. Amateur free agents and foreign free agents make up a very small portion of the league, less than 5% of overall players. So we're going to focus on drafted players and international amateur free agents. The draft is probably the one people are most familiar with. All players from the United States and Canada who either just graduated high school, are attending a junior college, or just finished their junior or senior years at a four-year college or university are eligible for the draft. This is still far and away the biggest source of bringing new talent to Major League Baseball. International amateur free agents are those that are 16 to 24 years of age and reside outside of the United States and Canada. There are very specific rules regarding when teams can negotiate contracts, how much they can spend, and how many players they can sign. But these rules are only recent additions to the CBA. And why? Why did Major League Baseball have to step in and create these limits? First is to understand the scale of international amateur free agents. Since 1965, the year of the first MLB draft, there has been 781 players taken in the first round of the draft that have a positive career wins above replacement, combining for a total of 11,153.1 WAR. During that same time period, there were 752 international amateur free agents that have a positive career WAR, for a total of 8,284.6 wins above replacement. So this gives the impression that international amateurs equate to a bit less than the first round of the draft. But remember, this goes back to 1965. When we look deeper, we can see some significant trends throughout the years. Here's a comparison by year between the combined WAR of the first round draft to all of the international amateurs signed, currently showing 1965 to 1977. You can see that other than the really odd weak draft year, like 1975 with only 17.8 WAR drafted in the first round, or strong international amateur years, drafts tended to hover around 120 WAR, while international amateurs were usually less than 30, with most years only having 2 or 3 international players that even made the league. The total count is 1,913 WAR from first-round players, 460.2 from international amateurs. The first round of the draft provided over 4 times more value during this time period. Now let's go to 1978 to 1990. You can see a bump in international amateurs. Before they were normally below 30, but this period the lowest year was 1982 with 38.9. It wasn't a crazy amount, but there was clearly an increase in talent coming from these signings. The draft also saw a general increase, especially in the mid-80s. Hey Barry Bonds. and maintained a considerable gap, with the closest year being 1979, where the two were separated by 35.1. Total during these years was 2,979.2 WAR from the first round versus 1,086.4 from international amateurs. The first round of the draft was still 2.7 times more valuable. Then we get 1991 to 2001. You can see there's a big jump in international amateurs during this time, averaging 213.1 WAR per year. The draft was still ahead, but with an average of 240.1, it was only 27 WAR per season ahead of international amateurs. The total sum is 2,650 WAR from the first round, 2,353.9 from international amateurs. The first round is down to only 1.13 times as valuable. Remember, from 1965 to 1977, it was over 4 times as valuable. I also picked 2001 because this is a key moment in the financial side of baseball and how teams thought. This is around the time Michael Lewis was writing Moneyball about how a small market Oakland A's managed their finances and player acquisitions in a way to be competitive with the larger market teams. While I won't say the book is the reason teams changed their ways, it did capture a change in strategy regarding player acquisitions and team spending that was happening organically across the league around this time. Free agency was becoming viewed as inefficient, the draft was too structured to spend your way to success, so where could these larger market teams spend their money to gain a competitive advantage? Where was talent that didn't fall under these two categories and didn't have any league rules or oversight? In the following years, signing bonuses for international amateurs took a huge jump, peaking in 2015 where the Red Sox paid $31.5 million to get 19-year-old Cuban Yoan Moncada. But how much of a competitive advantage did spending on these amateurs provide? Here's a look at WAR by team from the first round of the draft from 1965 to 2020. You can see the A's are number 1 at 560.3 WAR, while the Yankees are last with 261 WAR, a little under half the A's. This makes a little bit of sense due to the draft pick compensation system, where a team signing a major free agent meant giving their first round pick to the team that the player came from. For instance, in 2009, the Yankees signed free agent Mark Teixeira, who had been on the Angels the previous season. The Angels received the Yankees' first-round pick for that year, which netted them Mike Trout, and the Yankees ended up with no picks in the first round. So that explains some advantages and disadvantages some teams have. But even with that, the top team was only 2.15 times higher than the lowest team. Here's what that chart looks like for international amateur free agents. You can see the teams at the top of the list are the largest big market teams in the Dodgers and Yankees. Way down at the bottom is the Brewers with only 35.2 WAR, making the Dodgers 16 times higher. Also note that the Dodgers at 562 WAR would also be at the top of the previous chart that was for the draft, beating the A's, who were at 560.3. The Dodgers were able to turn their international spending into more talent than the best drafting team had gotten throughout the entire history of the first round of the draft. The difference between the Dodgers and the Brewers in 52 years comes out to an extra 9 wins per season. And remember, with the rise of international amateur free agents in the 90s, the difference was only increasing as time went on. With signing bonuses getting out of control and teams spending a ridiculous amount on these foreign 16-year-olds, Major League Baseball put in some changes. First, in 2012, there was a spending cap put on teams based on the previous year's standings. Teams were allowed to go over this cap, but they would have to pay excess luxury cap, and going over the cap would also have penalties where they couldn't sign international amateur free agents the next season. Problem with rules like this in baseball is teams are gonna find a way to game them. Teams realized these penalties weren't that severe in relation to the talent they could acquire. You have a rule where if I spend too much in 1 year, then I can't sign anybody the next? Okay, well then if I plan to go over the cap, I'm just going to go all in and spend a ridiculous amount, sign no players the next year, and then spend a ridiculous amount the year after that. Rinse and repeat. This is what the Red Sox were doing with Moncada, and the luxury tax penalties meant they actually paid a total of $63 million instead of just the $31.5 million. The Dodgers did the same, spending $97 million during the 2015-2016 signing period, mostly on 3 players, Yadier Alvarez, Yusniel Diaz, and Omar Estevez, as well as spending another $2 million on Yordan Alvarez, and then spent only $300,000 the following year. Realizing they'd only put a band-aid on the issue, Major League Baseball again changed the rules in the 2017 CBA. This gave every team the exact same starting hard cap they could spend on international amateurs. There's a few details and caveats in there, but the end result is every team will spend roughly the same amount each year from here on out. Only time will tell if these rules will level out international amateur success between the teams. Now, there's a major discussion on the impact this hard cap has on the players. It severely reduces what some of them can make. When you tell a team they can't give out $31 million signing bonuses, that negatively affects the player that could have gotten that signing bonus, and may be a key point in future CBA negotiations. Historically, the league has always tried to keep as much parity as possible between the teams. But one unfortunate side effect is nearly any rule you put in place, be it spending limits, salary caps, free agent compensation picks, or team service time control over players, will impact the players' earnings negatively and become major issues in CBA negotiations. Coming up this offseason, I plan to do a series of videos on the CBA, how it has evolved in the past, and what are some of the major things the players want in future negotiations, as well as the owners. Also plan on looking into detail at some of the best international amateur free agent signings in a future video as well. If you enjoyed this video and may be interested in more, please consider subscribing as it's appreciated and helps grow this channel. I've also got a lengthy video on the best drafts of all time here, or a video comparing scenes in the movie Moneyball to the actual game broadcasts here. Thank you and have a wonderful day.